podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hi, this is Ben, Sam and Harry from the Late Breaking F1 podcast, and you can follow this year's Formula One season with us on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
We're here every single week to bring you race previews, reviews and our opinions on everything from the F1 world, with plenty of fun along the way.
Listen to the Late Breaking F1 podcast now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Scouser Tommies on Anfield Index and Anfield Index Pro. Just going to give a quick shout to Anfield Index Pro. It's a way to listen to our podcast without ads. Maybe you didn't know about that. It's also a way where you can chat to other Liverpool fans because we have a Discord group. Well, lots and lots of channels on that where you can talk to other Liverpool fans about the club, about stuff loosely related to the club and about stuff that's got nothing to do with the club. It puts me in mind of the old user forums that used to be around in the days before Twitter, and what was always good about them was you didn't start getting trolled by Chelsea fans or City fans or whatever halfway through a nice conversation with a fellow Red. So there's always that, and it's a good place. There's a good bunch of people on there, and not quite often you'll get interaction from various presenters and contributors to the podcast will join in, so it's worth having that. But on top of that, what you do, perhaps most of all from our perspective, is that you help support us and keep us able to get these things out to you and to share these podcasts and hopefully give you something to listen to in between games that you enjoy, rather than being subjected to whatever Sky or TNT or whoever decide that they think you want to listen to or watch or be involved with. So if you can do that for us, that would be great. If not, don't worry, there will always be some way or other of getting content for free. That's something I'm sure that we all want to try and do as much as we can, and if we could, it'd all be free. But of course, things cost money, and anyone who can help us, we'd be very, very grateful. But that now over, I can now talk about this week. And I'm Jim Boardman, and I'm with Jay Reid. This is Scouser Tommies. Well, it's been busy, hasn't it? I mean, we always say this, like, there's sometimes we do these shows and we're thinking, what are we going to talk about, next week? What will happen when there's no games on and stuff? And there's always something happens with Liverpool, even when there's not a game, and that's kind of happening again now. We have had a couple of games since our last match. We played Forest and beat them with a goal that no one complained about. We've played Sparta Prague and we've hammered them 5-1 in a game that, yeah, it's a strange one. I'm sure we'll come to talk about that as well. Trent, in my view, has said something honest, and Man City and the whole lot of Man City are up in arms about it. And I mean, just before, there's been a bit of a rumble about it yesterday as well, but just before we started recording this on a Friday night, there's even more sort of strong links towards Michael Edwards coming back to the club. And of course, the thing that maybe I expected us to be talking about most of all when we planned ahead to do this was the game on Sunday. We're playing Man City, which is something of a slightly important game, isn't it? So everything to talk about. We'll see how much of that we can fit in the time we've got. And if we don't fit it all in, sorry, we'll try and do it next time maybe. That's assuming there's nothing else to push it out the way. But Jay, it has been, it's been a mad season. It's been a busy season. It's been full of stuff all the time. We've had loads to talk about, but it feels right now it's definitely, and I hope we're still feeling like this time next week, but it definitely feels like I've said it before, a great time to be a Red. There's so much good stuff going on, not least of which is on the field in that last couple of games as well.
Well, just a slight dig before we started. It's a terrible time to be a Blue, isn't it? If you was, there's not much to talk about on that front, but we won't go there tonight. Well, maybe later, but we'll see.
They'll be sad if you don't.
Yeah. And there is an old saying, isn't it? A week's a long time in football, and that, probably if you are an Everton fan, for example, from from getting stuffed 1 week to, probably getting stuffed the week after. It can be a very long wait waiting to get stuffed. Only turkeys at Christmas get stuffed more than them.
Injury time's a long time in Everton, isn't it?
Oh, shall we go there already? But, wind it back a week. We were looking forward to Forest because, we do take the old adage of one game at a time. And then, there was always, a sideway glance to what's coming this weekend. And we, kind of half forgot that we've got to go to Prague this week and do some football out there. But as things have transpired, we got through Forest one way or another, but we got through it, and people will say that's potentially the mark of champions, that, you don't play well and you find a way to win a game. And as the official announcement from, whoever's announced it in the stadium, there is a minimum of 8 minutes at a time. That doesn't mean to say the clock has to stop at 8 minutes. Eddie Howe, speak to him on that one. Or Fabio Carvalho, for the old input that he had in his short Liverpool career at the time he was, playing for us. At the moment, he's still a Liverpool player, but it was so sweet how, the carrot was dangled last weekend and, it was nibbled at. It was basically snatched by all of the football fandom until, Alexis McAllister, the calmest man in the room, and we'll come to him again, given last night's, performance, and the guy who's been, hammered all over the media, in Darwin Núñez popping up with the winner. And, it couldn't have been a sweeter sort of finish to a game, given, we had our chances, we rolled our luck at times, but, that guy has been one that a lot of people have stuck by. I've always kind of stuck by Darwin. And, a guy that's been mocked and sort of, I wouldn't say half language, but there's been a percentage of the fan base that, just think, like, why did we even sign him, and would be happy to have sold him at any one time. There was reports coming out before the Carabao Cup final, we rejected a bid from Chelsea, and there will be fans who would have said, well, I would have drove him there and took the money, whatever they would offer him. But we've always said there's a player in there, like there really is a quality player in there. There's a lot to work with, and going on again what he performed in Prague for the 47 minutes or whatever it was he was on the field. It's all going in the right direction. I think if you showed an amateur football fan who didn't know a lot about football, a video clip of a couple of minutes of Darwin's first 10 games at Liverpool and showed them his last 10 games, you would say that's not the same player. Like, and that's a credit to how much he's worked and how much the coaches have worked in developing him and polishing what was labelled a rough diamond. That still isn't actually fully finished. There's still a lot more he can do, but where we're going with him, it's really promising signs, and he's filling you with excitement for the weekend, because big stage, calls for big players to step up, and you kind of get the feeling that the story and headlines are written for him, but he's going to have a say one way or another in that game, I think.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, I suppose he didn't start off well getting sent off early on in his Anfield career. That probably put him on a bit of a downer with some fans. And I think there are people amongst us as fans, and we're all different people, so I suppose it's fair enough. But there's people who are like, always sort of looking for the first chance to have a go at someone and things like that. Whereas, I mean, I think me personally, I'm more someone who says, right, well, okay, it's things to improve, but that means there's things to improve. It doesn't mean you're beyond hope. And even Ryan Gravenberch, I've sort of had a bit of a moan about him this season, but even he has got his redeeming qualities, and you can't help but think that there's a player in there with him that, given some time and getting used to the setup and knowing what responsibilities he's got and what, as a fan base, we expect from players, I think he's going to be a hell of a player, maybe. We'll find out, but I've been pretty sure with Darwin that he was going to be a hell of a player one day. And I just love the sort of lazy Andy Carroll quotes, basically, because, that's the usual line, you're just a shit Andy Carroll. And then time and again, you sing that and he scores straight after. I don't even know whether he even knows that's what's being sung, in all honesty. Does he? He's like, has he heard of Andy Carroll? He probably has now, but I can't imagine, I don't know how old he would have been when Andy Carroll was playing, but I can't imagine him having Andy Carroll posters on his wall, you know what I mean? And back home, but I don't know. It's just, he's been exactly what we want though from a Liverpool player. And I mean, while we're at the Forest game, let's think back to one of the players against us. I mean, there was a few of our ex-players involved for Forest, but one in particular is one who stood out to us for miles, and it wasn't always down to his ability, because he wasn't the best in his position by any stretch of the imagination. If he was anywhere close to the best, he'd still be at the club now, and that's Divock Origi. He was a player who just did his best with what he had. You know, he put what he had, the skills he was given, he put them to the best use he could, and, you know, in some style. I mean, he made the Evertonians cry more than once, and, you know, there's plenty of great times we've had with him, plenty of great memories, and the big thing about him was that he just went out there and gave it a go, and that's what we want, and that's what Darwin's done, I think, from day one. The way that he epitomises the way Liverpool have been a bit lately as well, that, you know, you see him down, everyone's laughing at him, singing songs about him, trying to really sort of ridicule him. You know, some players would probably be wandering off the side of the pitch crying, but he just kind of dusts himself off, gets up, laughs, has a smile, and gets ready for another go. And this attitude, I think, is what's unfolded now. I mean, last night in Prague and then against Forest, just perfect timing with him, you know. And the other interesting thing is that it looks like him and Alex Mack have started a bit of a understanding. And you're right to mention him, our Argentinian player, because he, I think in the game last night, I was just amazed how cool he was taking that penalty, that he just wasn't fazed at all by a loud stadium, a goalkeeper trying to use a little bit of gamesmanship, a referee who just wanted to I was waiting for him to get some kind of maths kit out to measure how far everyone was from encroaching into the penalty area during the penalty. But eventually, when the ref blew, he still took his time and placed it perfectly. I don't know what he does. I was saying last night on Raw, it's a bit of mindfulness or something. But this, you know, that was in that moment where you got time to think. But then the coolness, the way that last minute, 98 minutes of added time had gone. They'd wasted time, of course, a bit like Newcastle did. So the minimum was going to be extended anyway. There's so much he could have done. I mean, he could have done what Tsimikas did. I mean, fair play to Tsimikas having that shot, but he was asking for a lot for it to go through all those bodies and get in the back of the net. Alex McAllister just took one look at the ball, knew where Darwin would go, and just played the perfect ball to him. And he's really coming into his own now, I think.
Yeah, I texted my mate last night and said, like, you know, thank God we got Ali McAllister. Like, he is so calm, and it's like you can tell he plays with Messi. And if you remember back to, you know, that World Cup in Qatar, wasn't it, a couple of years ago, or something as it is now. You know, Messi said, like, you know, if I'm looking for a player on the pitch, I'm looking for McAllister. Yeah. And, you know, probably most of the football world would be like, you're looking for this fella who plays for Brighton. Like, you know, why like all these other stars in the Argentina team, right? And you're looking for this like ginger-haired fella who, well, not full ginger, but, you know, he's got ginger in him because he's got Celtic roots.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking for this fella like who's got a half, you know, Scottish Irish name or whatever he is. Fair play to his dad. And he's the guy who you look for on the pitch, and that's coming from the greatest player of all time. You know, in my opinion, like what I've seen, you know, others would argue other players, but, you know, in my generation, you know, probably it's Messi or Ronaldo, and I would always pick Messi. But if he's looking for McAllister and says, like, that's the player who I give the ball to and then he will find me, I don't think you're getting, you know, bigger praise than anyone in world football for that. You know, like, you can have praise from Jurgen Klopp, who we would regard as the greatest manager in the world right now, and, you know, one of our greatest managers ever. No, even the bald fraud down City, you know, might have an opinion on football, but if Lionel Messi is saying that's how good you are, then you're pretty damn good at football. And yeah, like his calmness was epitomised in those two moments. You know, the ability to stop and sort of take a quick moment to check back in the Forest game and actually have a quick look. And you know, he's seen where Darwin was, and Darwin's seen, you know, where he had to, like, basically Alexis McAllister's body shape basically said to him, this is where you've got to go. Yeah. And as soon as that ball left his foot, he knew what he had to do. And, you know, sometimes when things are made a bit simple for Darwin, they don't quite go right. But, you know, it was simple enough were complicated enough that he had to, contort his body and put the ball down and leave the keeper hapless. And then last night, that was a big pressure moment because, not necessarily it was defining in the tie, but, it's the opening goal 5 minutes into a game, as you say, away from home. But Mo Salah's on the bench, who's our regular penalty taker. People would then think, well, maybe your next man up is Darwin Núñez, who missed one at Chelsea, and maybe it's a case of, well, who could be next? And it probably would be McAllister or Szoboszlai, and given their penalty records in the past, you'd be happy to see either, but you've still got to put the ball in the back of the net if the chance is given to you, and there probably will be very few occasions that McAllister's on the pitch and Mo Salah isn't, so when the opportunity presents itself, you've got to take it, and I think you said on Raw last night, had the keeper have actually guessed the right way, I don't think he does save it, because it's so calmly dispatched, and it's it's side netting, and yeah, he is for me the sign of the season. People will, I had this discussion in work with a few lads the other day, and obviously you can't please a Liverpool player if you're talking to an Everton fan, because you're biased, and Declan Rice was the shout, and I think, well, has Declan Rice had that much of an impact? That he's worth 105 million, because in my opinion he's not.
No.
That he's revolutionised Arsenal. Last season Arsenal were challenging for the title with 10 games to go. We have 11 games to go and Arsenal are challenging for the title. If he now carried Arsenal to the title, there would then be an argument for it, but he's not.
They'd already be in a comfortable position, wouldn't they? Never mind get there in the end. They'd already be in that comfortable spot if he was that much better.
And this was my argument. So it's like, we were crap last season, let's be honest, and our midfield was shocking. And we bought a whole new midfield, and, as well as bringing through, a couple of young lads and bringing on Curtis Jones a bit more this season. But that whole middle section of our team is brand new, basically. And from where we were last season to where we are now, that thing says, the people who are in there made a huge difference. And at 36 million compared to the 105 that was paid for Declan Rice, I don't think it's even a discussion to be had. One lad has revolutionised a football team. One of the lad has, made a small improvement to Arsenal, and, may have got them a couple of points here and there, but, the hammering team's 5 or 6-0 and he's chipping in with a goal. It's hardly making a difference where this lad's producing assists, to win us 3 points from a drawing position, or, he's taking penalties to open up the score in European games when, other teams go away in Europe and lose to Porto.
Yeah. He's just, and he's taken the responsibility as well. He's relatively young, and, he's not young by our standards these days, because he's not got teen at the end of his age, but, he's relatively young, but he's taking responsibility, and he's like, he's definitely one of the old heads on the pitch, one of the senior heads on the pitch, and, he just doesn't look fazed by anything. I think I was saying as well, probably repeating myself a bit, but yeah, he's a tough cookie. He's not someone that you're going to knock over easily. Even for the penalty, it felt to me like he was properly clattered for that penalty, but, it takes some doing to hurt him, and he'll just keep going and keep going and keep going. But he's not just like a battering ram or whatever you want to call him, like some central midfielders might be. He's not that. He's got so much skill, and so much vision. And I think, we've talked for years as Liverpool fans. A couple of partnerships spring to mind for me straight away. Keegan and Toshack, which I don't really remember playing that well, replaced soon after by Kenny and Rushy, and, an amazing partnership. But they're up front when we kind of always had this 4-4-2. And I think if we can get McAllister just sort of knowing the runs that Núñez is going to take, and Núñez knowing it's worth making those runs, and then the same with Mo, as you said, same with the other lads up front, it's only going to get better. This is the other thing as well from what you're saying. Like we changed the whole midfield in the summer, and they've had just over half a season together, and this is how well they're playing together. And I think he's definitely our signing of the summer. We know Dominic looked amazing early on in the season. He's not been as good of late, because I don't think he's been fully 100% fit personally. I think he's still trying to get back into things, and I'm sure he will come good again soon. And he was showing signs of it against Sparta. But yeah, I think with McAllister, he's played in a position that for a lot of us was a bit too deep for a while, because we were struggling. Endo wasn't ready or wasn't around. another good player, Endo. We're just full of these good players. But I think he's in his better role, McAllister, when he does play slightly further forward. But he's still there. He's still that player that can make a difference. It might be worth, I think, while we've got all this positivity, I might as well just get a little bit of negativity out of the way, because it's worth a mention, and I would rather not spend ages on it. I mean, for one thing, the ref, of all the refs to be in charge of a Liverpool game, he managed to, the ref that normally annoys us every game managed to annoy the opposition somehow. That's the usual thing, but refereeing, the angry Forest fans were angry about the refereeing right at the end when the drop ball didn't go their way, and that could have made such a difference if they hadn't lost possession twice, was it, between the drop ball and us scoring, going on about the added time and all the rest of it. And there was so much venom, and there was footage afterwards of Robbo helping a kid out the crowd with, I'm assuming it's with the kid's mum. And the kid got to meet loads of the players. Klopp was holding him at one point and saying, no more need for tears now. And the footage I saw of someone's phone, I think it was via TikTok or something like that on Twitter, was horrendous. It was just so vile. It was just cheat, but really, really angry, like confrontational stuff. And that isn't any excuse. That does not excuse what went on before that from the fans, though, because that happened right at the end. And all the way through that game, they were singing the sign-on type song. They were even, as someone pointed out, they were even miming signing, as if they're signing with a pen, as part of the sign-on songs. It wasn't just a couple. And there's been a lot of stuff on Twitter. I posted on Twitter about it, and as usual, all the trolls come in. The Man City fan with 4 followers who's only had his account since April last year or something, that sort of thing. I had all them coming on, loads of them coming on. But the thing, my attitude to it is, look, there are bad, and that's it, some Man United fan will come on and say, what about this Munich thing from you lot? And he found a video from 5 years ago with a couple of lads doing the wrong thing. They should not be bringing Munich into it. But the thing is, that's a few lads. And the only time I normally hear about that kind of stuff from our fans is because someone else is pulling them up on it. And I've overheard them saying, stop it, don't do that. And it does happen. There's some fans who say things they shouldn't. They can be racist, sexist, homophobic. They can mention tragedies, whatever. There's always going to be some amongst you in any group of people. But I think, to me, what you do as a group is you try and stamp it out. You tell each other it's wrong. You work on each other. You educate each other. You make it so the ones who are coming out with this crap feel embarrassed and ashamed to do it amongst you, and maybe need to go and find some other sport to be racist, homophobic, and mocking of other people. And, they go and find some other activity to do it in. Maybe go hunting or something. Fox hunting is probably like you being a Tory in that kind of place, and being horrible to other people. So but the thing is, you as a club, you as fans of a club, if that's the group, is you do all you can to just educate them and stop them. I've heard some horrible chanting at Anfield in years gone by. Let me just say, before John Barnes came to Anfield, the chanting was horrific. But people learned over time and stopped. And that's not me praising them for what they did then, but that's me saying, look, it's not about praise. It's just about stopping doing it. If you're upsetting other people, why are you doing it? Are you just some sort of sadist? It's not banter. It's more than that. And Forest, I think they have got some fans who are not right wing, who are not anti, not mocking people who are worse off than them. But to me, the problem still is with them is there's too many of them who defended that sort of singing by saying either, oh, what about you lot? You lot have done this 5 years ago. 3 of your lads said that. Or, oh, it's just banter. When really the reaction should be, be honest with yourself. Do you think it's right? Because if you don't, start saying something to your fellow fan. And if you do think it's right, well, as I say, go and take up fox hunting or something. You'd probably be more welcome there.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
I mean, this might sound like a biased view from a Liverpool fan, but you don't tend to hear too much derogatory stuff resounding around Anfield towards any other team. You don't tend to generally hear too much about any opposition. This weekend, let's be honest, Manchester City are visiting, and you will get the Manchester's full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and they will get and Liverpool is full of shit. Like, it's not, to me, like, yes, it could, some people could say, well, that's a bit offensive or whatever, but in the whole, it's not aimed at any one sort of, group or incidents or something like that. It's just like we think our city's better than yours. Like, it's a childish thing that, you'd see kids saying, oh yeah, well, my bubble's harder than your brother, or my dad's bigger than your dad. Like, it's one of them, like a flexion muscle sort of thing. And that is probably all you'll hear around that field towards Manchester City. And, there may be some, more expletive comments or shouts made from very, very small minorities of the crowd, stuff that won't be heard at all, like, across the TV cameras. You could hear something that's right 5 or 6 rows behind you, but if you were 10 or 15 rows further away, you wouldn't hear it. But for a whole stadium to be resounding in such chanting, relentlessly for the whole game, and numerous sorts of chants, and quite often the word used is it's always the victim, it's never your fault, is quite often the one sung by numerous fan bases.
Yeah.
And I've seen that a lot on Twitter this week, like the always the victim thing, and you get people like Tony Evans, who will, fight the fight for as much as he can, and say like it's not right, and they're like, well, what's not right about it? And like, well, if you don't understand, then go and educate yourself. You clearly know why you're saying it, or if you don't, then you're just a sheep, because other fan bases saying you've seen how much it riles the Scousers and whatever. But again, it gets to the point where it's not just about Liverpool anymore, because these things are sung at Everton games. Everton played West Ham at the weekend, and you can hear the same derogatory songs sung towards Evertonians. And you think like, well, it's not football banter, because if you were saying, oh yeah, well, it's Forest and Liverpool, and we had a bit of a rivalry in the 80s. Well, what rivalry have West Ham and Everton got? What you both had David Moyes as manager, is that it?
Yeah, you both hate him when he's your manager, but then wish he was back, kind of thing, because that'd be West Ham soon if they sack him. Yeah.
The only other thing you've got in common is a fella who kicked a cat. That's literally the only other thing you've got in common. And even then, like, as terrible as that was, Liverpool fans found a way to actually, create a bit of humour out of it, which, it's kind of the, the Scouse mentality. You will always find a bit of positive in the sides of negative. But we will get it this weekend, and nothing will be said about it. I will be at the game. I'll be fortunate enough to be at the game, and many others won't be. And I will no doubt, where I am in the car, right at the back, you don't tend to hear away fans unless you've got a really, vibrant bunch of people, who are going to bring support and support their own in the main. Will have songs about their own club rather than, derogatory songs about Liverpool, or, maybe a one song chant like Chelsea, Chelsea or something like that. You don't tend to hear the away fans from where I am, but it can be heard on telly. And it'll be interesting if it's called out, because I think it was one other time by Jamie Carragher called it out and said, like, I think it was the Luton game when we played at Luton, and he's like, this can't happen anymore. But it happens on a weekly basis, and it needs to be called out more, because actually when Forest visited Anfield, they unveiled a banner saying, like, we stand against tragedy chanting, and we know, like, we're sort of, we remember the 97 and stuff like that. And you thought, what, maybe there is down to class about these people, and there probably is actually. A lot of them actually could be quite decent, but the noise that come out the City ground at the weekend, it kind of shows that actually they're probably not. That there's a hell of a lot of noise that was coming out of there, and we're a minority. It was from all, 3 1/4 sides of the ground where that noise was coming from. So, these things need calling out, because it's happening on a more regular basis, and as we know it affects a lot of people. It upsets a lot of people, and it needs to stop.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the programme, I think, last season, was it, when we played them? Well, one of the maybe last season. And the banner was basically, respect the 97, solidarity with survivors. No to tragedy chanting was the banner, with a 97 and the Flames on one side and a Forest badge on the other. And, you know, there's enough fans have gone to the trouble to make the banner and hold it up and stick it up at away games. And that's an interesting thing as well, I reckon, is away games, you know, fans may be a different kind of crowd. I mean, let's not get into it today, but you'll hear people say that, you know, the hardcore travelling cop are quite different to the fans that are going to the game, to the home games. Partly because they all sing, which not everyone does at the home games. And there might be an element of that with Forest. I was wondering, is that a lot of these are the home fans who are just turning up and thinking it's all part of the day's entertainment. You know, you turn up, you get your overpriced beer, your overpriced pie, your overpriced programme or whatever, after paying for your overpriced ticket. And then while you're in there, you go and mock everyone who maybe, you know, maybe would, you know, would have to live for a good few days on the cost of that pie, let alone the cost of that pint. But that to me maybe is what it is. There's a lot of the home fans are just, they're not interested, they're not bothered, they're not educated. And I think as fans of a club though, you've got to speak out, you know, and you've got to do that. And I'm always quick to say that, because when people say, oh, it's all Liverpool fans, someone will pick an incident where 10 Liverpool fans did something bad out of thousands of Liverpool fans who were there, and they'll say, look at you, it's always you lot. Everton speak like that about us quite a bit, don't they? It's not all of us, it's some of us, and those some of us that did it, the rest of us, on the whole, are pretty ashamed of it, and we don't agree with what they did. And it's up to you to speak out. I think there was one that got back to me on Twitter. He's called Parkdale Head, and he's head of a primary school in Nottingham. And he just said, we're not all right-wing scabs either. This was in response to someone who pointed out about the Hillsborough banner that they'd made. He said, we're not all right-wing scabs either. The city's historically and still very left-leaning. The strike was before most of us were even aware of it, and many of us that were around supported it. I had striking manners in my family. He said, don't assume we're all the same, please. And that's the thing that I will never assume everyone's the same, and I'm glad when I come across people who are willing to speak out like that and say to me, look, we're not all like this. I just think, though, for every time one of them comes to me and tells me that, he needs to go back and tell 10 of his own fans that as well and say, look, you know, you tell 10, I'll tell 10, everyone tells 10. Eventually the word might get out and it might change, but it's not just down to the fans, though, as well as usual. There's a lot more the clubs could do about it because, you know, Premier League like to think of it as a product now, don't they? And sometimes the product can get damaged by stuff like this. And maybe that's why Sky don't mention it as much as they should. Maybe that's why the BBC don't mention it as much as they should, because they're paying all this money for this product. And it's a little bit tainted, a bit like F1 at the moment because of Christian Horner and his story, but we maybe can't go into that. I've seen those screenshots.
You're more of an F1 fan than I am. I've literally just started this season's Drive to Survive last night, and I got to episode 2. And there he is, you know, with his family in the shooting jackets at the Red Bull event in Oxfordshire, you know, clay pigeon shooting and all that. And I'm just thought, you Tory twat. That was literally, and my missus like sat there and she's like, to be fair, she's from the West Midlands, which is very Tory itself. And she's lived in Liverpool for 13 years now. You know, so she's basically spent like a good chunk of her life up here, and she's adopted a lot of, you know, Scouse mentality and mindset. She's like, what a prick. And I'm thinking, you know what, like, you've been here that long, I've now converted you to what you are. You know, like, and she's gone home this weekend, and she'll be around stuff like that, you know, like we were down there over Christmas and New Year, and they have like fox hunting and stuff, and we were like, just what is all this about? Like, you know, you're living in medieval times, sort of thing. But yeah, like Christian Horner, like Tory twat, you know, like you get Trev and his terrible set of lads sort of shout, that's the one I'm adopting him for this. Yeah, I can't imagine Sporty Spice being married to him. You know, he got Ginger Spice to marry him, but Sporty, imagine him bringing him home to the north, to like Merseyside, like, you know, I mean, Sporty Spice, isn't she from Runcorn really? But, you know, we'll let her off. I mean, she was literally the last spice on the rack that he went for. Yes. Enough about unsavoury stuff then, maybe just for a minute. Although I say that, I'll have a little bit of a talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold, because he's been like
he's the cover star of 442, and I mean, he's right on the front cover wearing a retro Liverpool shirt, and then there's a spread throughout with him in it. Loads of great photos. Some of them including him in trophies, some of them including him, holding trophies. Plenty of them in retro stuff. He's got loads of old LFC trackies on for this photo shoot, which, if I'm not mistaken, the photo shoot came sort of tied in with him. Is he an Adidas athlete now? Of course, he's just done a big deal with them. So
yeah,
the actual photos that he's wearing, the retro kits are actually, you know, in the club shop they sell like a retro candy bird shit top, but it's not got the Adidas on, has it? It's just got a space. No,
it's to do with
these are the real ones.
Copyright, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the club are allowed to sell. I listened to a podcast on this not too long ago. So the clubs are allowed to sell retro shirts as long as it's not got the supplier's name on, but it can have sponsors and badges and stuff. Yeah. Obviously, given the club that they own that legal property, but the sponsorship thing, you can't put the supplier's name on it. And it's basically a loophole where the clubs can then make maximum revenue from selling old retro shirts that people love, without actually paying, Adidas, Umbro, Sundico, former previous, big brands in football shirts.
Yeah. So, and it's good to see him in the excuse me, it's good to see him in the old kit. And I've not read this article because it's page after page. There must be 8 to 10 pages in it, and a lot of writing in it as well. So it's not just pictures, but plenty of nice pictures. But the thing that's come out of all this like massive spread is just like probably a sentence that he said, which is along the lines of, and he's looking ahead to the game against City, and he's basically alluded to the fact that, and I don't disagree, and I know you don't, that it means a lot to us when we win trophies, and it probably means more to us because of the way we've gone about it. And I think what he's trying to say in his own way is, like, you see him around town, you'll see these shots where they sell trophies, and you've all heard the story. You've all heard the story of someone a lad whose dad goes out and buys him a trophy and gets his name engraved on the front because he's never actually managed to win one for anything. Your dad buys you a trophy. Like you've heard these stories, whereas because he's just like his mates who've got trophies because they were footballer of the year for the school team or reader of the year or whatever. Someone's dad goes out and buys him one so he's not left out. To me, that's what City are. They went out and bought these trophies basically, whereas we've gone and earned them. Now, I'm not saying they didn't earn them as well, but they spent a lot of money and basically went out and bought them. And depending on the outcome of that hearing that's coming up in the future, it might turn out they spent money that they shouldn't have been spending. But I don't see what the big fuss is about Trent saying it. He's not wrong. And if anyone just puts aside their hatred of Liverpool, because there's plenty of them, just for 1 minute, and they were honest with themselves, they'd agree. And I even think City fans would agree if they were honest as well, because, how many of their fans have only come along since the money came along as well? They've had a lot of fans who've been with them for years, but there's a hell of a lot of their supporters now who've only turned up since the money turned up.
Yeah, it's just set up nicely for this weekend, isn't it? In terms of, he's done a huge interview of, 12, 11 pages, something like that.
Yeah.
And they clipped 3 lines from it, something like that. But it's 3 lines of truth. And, truth hurts, doesn't it? It kind of goes along with the old saying of, when someone says something that truthful, it will really rile the emotions in you. And, when it hits home like it has done there, and it's calling for numerous members of the Man City team, management, media, even Manchester United's own Gary Neville, coming out and having an opinion on it. It kind of, just shows, the truth has hit hard there, and you haven't got many fans for it to actually mean much to. Let's be honest, and I think Carragher sort of got embroiled in this as well, like a few days ago, with somebody, I can't remember, it might have been Mickey Richards, with CBS, and he said, well, it does mean more to Liverpool fans, and yes, we waited years and years for the league title to come back to Anfield, and in the event that it did, it kind of felt a little bit tainted in the fact that we weren't allowed to fully celebrate it. So, when we actually got round to a celebration of the Champions League, just look how many people turned up and lined the streets of the city. What was it, like 750,000 was the estimated number, and that's an estimated number. I would say there could possibly be more. And should we get to this season and top it off with, a title victory, and tied in with the fact that Jurgen Klopp is leaving, that's gonna peak 1 million easily in terms of what people will line the streets of the city, and a Man City parade. You've seen more people, on Christmas shopping, trying to get down the high street. So it does mean more to our fans, because we're genuine fans. We've been. I'm not saying Man City fans haven't been through the ups and downs, but their ups aren't above board is probably the best way of saying it. Everyone knows, the fact that there's 115 outstanding charges against them, and you got our lads across the park who've been slapped with one charge and probably going to be slapped with another one, and you think, look at the punishments they've been hit with, and are Man City going to be hit with something 115 times as hard as them? Probably not, because they're probably going to have all the money in the world to get the best lawyers to get it out of it.
Yeah, they'll pay 115 times more for lawyers, won't they?
They need to be hit with something, because what they've achieved and how they've achieved it, it isn't legit, is probably the best way of saying it.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own Two-Footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m, Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin DeVries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, we can hold our heads high when we've won stuff. I mean, over the course of a season, there's always going to be decisions, and you think, we got away with that. That was definitely an offside goal that they somehow missed on VAR somehow, or that was definitely, that definitely shouldn't have been a pen, or should have been a pen, or whatever. On the whole, though, I think lately with us, we get more decisions against us than for us that are controversial. But, there's that sort of side to football. There'll always be that side of football where you can look back and say, you got some lucky breaks in that sense. Or even down to kind of like games being postponed and falling just right for you when a player who was injured is fit again. Not the way that Man United got it all that time ago when Sky were thinking of buying Man United. Eric Cantona was banned until a particular date, which I think was like the end of September. And so Sky, for the first time, I think, as they were covering Liverpool games, Man United games on Sky, they moved our game to the Sunday because the Sunday was the 1st of October or whatever the month was, and all of a sudden he'd be eligible. And it wound me up at the time because thinking they nearly bought Man United, and they can make that much of a difference to a title race. I mean, as it was 2-2 and he wasn't the star of the show after all, but that's how, on the whole though, for Liverpool, it has been, we've won them, we've earned them. We've been through all kinds of adventures to get to them, and we're not sort of looking back thinking, shit, I hope no one mentions, how they don't find that dodgy envelope. I hope they didn't spot us handing that dodgy thing over or whatever, and it feels like that. It feels seedy to me, the way City have gone about things, because there's all the leaked stuff that we saw, and the way they've got out of things has definitely been just out of using legal arguments to get round things, and I think if the legal system was a bit better than it is now, it wouldn't be so difficult. It wouldn't take so long. And that's just in the general world. It would be quicker, in football, just to get these things over and done with, get it, all the cards on the table, get your stories out, listen to other people's versions of the stories, and then let some people make a decision on what really happened and what should be done, instead of it just taking forever. When you say about the victory parade, I mean, I know I hate politics winds me up at the moment, especially what I'm seeing over in the States, because it looks like Trump's resurgent. But even his victory parade had to be kind of carefully photoshopped, and they didn't want to show the same photos that showed all the empty spaces when he was victorious that time. And I've noticed that with City, it seems that Victory Parade are carefully shot, very zoomed in so that you don't see all the empty spaces. And I can remember that Champions League homecoming. That was surreal. The amount of people that were there, it was off the scale. I mean, there are, all these familiar sights to us down by the library buildings and all the rest of it. Places we're at all the time. Places where you're almost like take for granted these places. You see them while you're stuck in traffic in the car and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, it was just unreal. And I just don't believe that City would have that same kind of appeal if they'd won the Champions League the way we did that year. And the more they've won with the money, the more it's kind of diluted it for them. And I think, we are biased, but it's up to clubs like us to kind of just keep everyone honest and show that you can still win things without resorting to ways that you shouldn't, make your own money, bring your own income in. Another thing just quickly on City as well, just before we sort of get looking at actual football, just more off-field stuff with them, is they have, I think they've got a 50% ownership of this new arena that's opening in Manchester, which is going to be bigger than the O2, bigger than the AO Arena, which is really called the MEN Arena, a bit like we have the Echo Arena, which isn't called that anymore. But they've got this big arena opening on the Etihad campus. They're sort of 50% joint partners with some American company. And I saw a thing the other day that they were trying to get the license to open it, and it was being held up because they had a site-wide smoking ban but wouldn't do a site-wide vaping ban. And apparently it's because they wanted to sell vaping products at the venue as well, which I just can't believe a sporting organisation is doing shit like that. I find it mad.
I mean, just to touch on City's Victory Parade, I got it up there. It was 4 roads long. It started off, if anyone's familiar with Manchester, around the Beetham Tower, it went literally in a straight line across 3 roads, done a right at the Marks and Spencer by the Arndale, couple of chicanes, then it finished by St. Peter's Square, which, is probably no more than a mile in terms of walking distance.
Yeah, if you're ever going into Manchester and you're trying to get a train from one, like that's the distance, like you get told just walk it. Like if you need to change train, walk it. That's our distance.
It's probably the equivalent of not even a tram stop in Manchester.
Yeah.
But yeah, our parades last miles, they go from...
They do like Queen's Drive, don't the M62 Queen's Drive, the outer ring road, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Start at the flyover, all the way down Queen's Drive, right the way through, up past the ground, and then, down into the city centre, right along the front. Probably the equivalent of actually our Strand, as it's known, in it along the waterfront is probably the length of Man City's Victory Parade, and even then they couldn't fill it. But let's move on from that. What was your second point? Sorry, this at the end of that, I was distracted by that.
Yeah, it's just like the vaping thing, It's just
the vaping, yeah.
I mean, I just can't believe that a club that an organisation that owns Man City, a sporting club, and all the rest of it. I know vaping's better for you than smoking, but as an ex-smoker myself, and from years and years and years ago, I didn't have vapes to help me, but I'm not not an angry ex-smoker, but I just know it's not good for you. And I've heard so many scare stories about vaping, and I just think it's just an unlicensed way to make loads of money out of people, and it just feels like more exploitation, and that they should know better. For all the money they've got, is this what they're resorting to, though? Is this how they're going to end up paying these fines off? They're going to need to get kids vaping for concerts? I don't know.
Well, not even that. It's like, smoking was outlawed indoors for so many reasons, and, the fact that, like, as a non-smoker, it's unpleasant. It's very unpleasant, like the smell of it. Mm-hmm. And just because vapes can smell fruity or whatever, and can literally disintegrate into the air in seconds, doesn't make it any better. You know what I mean? Like you're still breathing in someone else's byproduct of what they're using. And yeah, it's grown in huge popularity in the last couple of years, but still, it's not something that should be allowed indoors, in my opinion. When people do it, but I'm going to go to an event at that arena in the next few weeks, and I wouldn't like to be sat there and someone was vaping in front of me openly and it was fine. I'd have something to say about it, because I still class it as a form of smoking in one way or another. And
yeah,
if they're trying to find a loophole in getting around it, when actually you mentioned about politics and stuff, like, hasn't it not been passed that it's not allowed to be openly sold, and it'll be basically branded the same as smoking products, and the fact that they're out on shop shelves now was like, packets of sweets basically that they are going to be, put behind the counter and trying to be sort of managed, basically sort of categorise them as what they actually are. But it does not surprise me that Manchester City will look to maybe exploit that, because they will try and find loopholes in any sort of way. And they imagine that this arena, has been built with purpose, that any profits made from it will probably go into their accountancy fees, so they can sort of account for the fact that they made money from a facility on their site. That wouldn't be something that shocks me in next year's finance figures that come out, but not that they disclose the cleanest of finance figures anyway.
No, although there's one thing about, as much as I can't stand what they do and how they do it and all the rest of it, they're better at doing it than Everton, because you can imagine if Everton had tried to build something like this, they'd have done it wrong, wouldn't they? That's what's happened with Everton. They've kind of done it wrong, haven't they? Trying to get this stadium built. It's not. They've just gone out. Yes, we can beat the Red Shite. We'll get this stadium. We'll have more money than them. We'll be better than them. And then they screw it all up, which we said we weren't going to mention, but you can't help it, can you? They just there's always something to laugh at with them.
I actually didn't know up until I spoke to a few of them in work this week. They haven't won in 10 games, which I was like, so you've earned more points off the Premier League in the last 10 games than you have yourselves? And they were like, pretty much, yeah. And I was like, bad that, isn't it?
Yeah, because when they got the 4 points, 4 points back, I thought, you know what, that's probably all they need, because like at that level, 4 points is 4 draws, and that's the kind of result that makes a massive difference at that level, isn't it? That's like, it's almost the equivalent of having, 12 points if you're at the top end of the table. It's a massive amount. That's what I thought. But they seem to be even messing that about. They're just determined to get this dog out, aren't they, at the end of the season again?
It'll be out at some point.
Poor lad, poor dog. I was just thinking, though, the game the other day, though, we played against Forest and it took 98 minutes. I think did we have 2 shots on target? We weren't great. I don't think they particularly frightened us. But the thing is, there's just this Liverpool team that just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going, and is determined to win a game and wins it. You mentioned the Newcastle game when Eddie Howe was fuming with us. Same kind of mentality we had then. That to me now we've got it almost every game, is that somehow or other we're going to win this game. And then against Sparta Prague, it felt like it was sort of, right, lads, we don't want anyone to get hurt. We want to get this over and done with. We want to be able to get back next week and not have to worry about the second leg. Get it put to bed nice and early. And my God, they did test us a bit, Sparta Prague, because they were fast at times, and there's probably bits to worry about in terms of how they cut us open at times. But there's still that feeling with us that we can there's always someone there, like it's usually Ali or someone, or it's Virgil with a carefully stuck out foot just to steer the ball away, or a cushioned header like he did against Forest the other day. Canate with his arse last night. There's always someone there that can, and Gomez, let's be honest, on the line. There's always someone there that can come and help out. But I don't know, it just feels like there's a lot to ask on Sunday's big game, but I feel like it couldn't have come at a better time. The way even with all the injuries we've had, the way we've had them, feels like it's come at just the right time for us, this game. It's like we've just got enough players coming back. We're not full strength by any stretch of the imagination. But to me, it feels like our tails are high, we're full of confidence, and we're really getting to know each other better now as well.
Yeah, I think, a couple of weeks ago you would have been, because the injury situation and whatever, but I do think, the fact it's at Anfield, had it been at the Etihad, I'd be worried. But yeah, the fact that it's Anfield, I think City have only won once at Anfield in, 20 odd years or something like that, and that was when there was no fans there, so it doesn't really actually count. And we've had moments, against them in games, and it's been quite tight and cagey and stuff like that. But I always just think at Anfield we'll beat anyone, absolutely anyone. It doesn't matter who you are, like what sorts of situations are going on. Like we've got that extra factor, and people mock it and say it's a myth and whatever. But you only have to look at recent games and see, like, when the crowd gets involved, it can really play an extra part in the game. And the old 12th man, as we've mentioned many a times, it does come into play. And I just think it's at such a crucial moment in the season where, you know, we're going into an international break after this. You know, there is no more league games until the 31st of March, I think, for us, something like that. So, you know, 3 weeks or something like that. You know, because we're actually decent in the cup, so we got through.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got to face the other side of Manchester next weekend, but that's something we can discuss next week. You know, it puts us with a bit of breathing room, and it can put down such a huge statement. And I think it was a couple of years ago in the title race, we went to the Etihad after Christmas. It might have been the end of January, early February, or something like that. And City beat us, and it just kind of knocked the stuffing out of us.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this will knock the stuffing out of City, because you know, for all the goings on behind the scenes on the pitch, they're a phenomenal football team. And some sensational players. You can't take that away from them. You know, how they've constructed it may be worth another glance, but, you know, on the day, you know, there are 11 players against 11 players, and if them 11 players are facing our 11 players, however, they've got a 12th man on the stands, you know, that's what we've got to try and use to our advantage. And we've seen in the past, you know, I found it funny that City have asked for extra police cooperation and support in getting to the ground, and I just thought, like, you know, you're already showing signs of weakness. You're already showing how much we can affect you, and all they've done, in my opinion, in highlighting that, you know, is actually asked for more of a raucous sort of welcome. Had they have not mentioned it, you know, they probably would have been met at the end of, you know, the East Lancs coming into Walton Vale, not far from Everton's shed, where the police would have met them and then drove them into Anfield, like they do with any other team, whether you're Luton, whether you're Burnley, or whether you're Manchester City or Barcelona. That's where you're met.
Yeah.
These lads are going to want to be met, you know, when they go on the East Lancs by Wigan or somewhere like that, aren't they, by the sounds of it? Thinking that they're going to get a raucous entrance all the way down the Lancs. But all they're going to do now is they've just put an extra bit of spice on the fire of the welcome they are going to get. And yes, it'll be managed. Yes, it'll be controlled, you know, because of, you know, instance of a very small minority in the past. But we got in the heads at that point. They hadn't even got off the bus and they were beaten.
Yeah.
And we all saw what happened in that game, in that European game. And, you know, it's happened before. Like, I imagine there'll be a call for a flag day at the ground. And this will be one of the games where, you know, as a fan who normally gets to the ground half hour, 20 minutes before and probably gets up to your seat just as the lads are going in from the warm-up, we'll probably get in for the lads coming out for the warm-up, you know, and stand there and make a lot of noise. And, you know, yes, the City players will be warming up, you know, towards the Anfield Road end, but that has now got an extra 10,000 people in it, and that will make a hell of a lot of noise. So it's going to come from everywhere. And we could actually, you know, really affect them before the ball's even kicked on the pitch. And we all have seen what can happen when the Anfield crowd get a bit raucous. So I'm quietly confident that we'll put up a performance and we'll get a positive result at the end of the day. And that could prove massive in the title race in terms of giving us a little bit of breathing room, because I don't think Arsenal are going to last the pace as it is at the moment. So it's basically a 2-horse race, and if we can get not just our head in front, but, you know, get a length in front, as they say in horse racing terms, you know, like give ourselves a little bit of breathing room as we approach the final few fences and up the running, then that's all good for us. And I think we've got what it takes off the pitch, in the crowd, and we've got what it takes on the pitch, given, you know, the Klopp situation and the players we've got to actually see this job through.
Yeah, we've got we've got some big rivals. Like I always say, this Everton, obviously the biggest rivals, and there's, you know, sort of a love-hate relationship with Evertonians, because obviously there's plenty of them that you still give mates and stuff, you know, and you do feel bad for them and things, but, you know, there's definitely a lot of hatred from a lot of them towards us as well. And that's a football rivalry in a certain kind of way. It's hard to explain, really. When they say like the friendly derby, it kind of isn't. It's like that. Then there's a rivalry with the Manx, and I saw this question asked somewhere the other day. Manx means Man United. It doesn't mean Man City. So the rivalry with the Manx goes back for years, and that's a proper strong rivalry. And I think they're pretty much our main rivalries. And Chelsea try and make out that they're a big rivalry with us, and it's not. They're just a team that we've played a lot lately, and we'll not miss them if they go away. Like we won't be thinking, oh God, we don't have those Chelsea games anymore. I doubt we'd miss them, and in all honesty, I think that's kind of how it is with City. Like we didn't think, oh God, we've not had the game against City this season when they had a couple of seasons relegated not that long ago, to be honest. You weren't thinking, oh God, there's no Man City game this season. That didn't cross your mind. It's the Everton game, it's the Man United games. They're the ones you look for on the calendar. It's kind of an artificial rivalry that's just here at the moment because of where it is in the table. Those other rivalries happen regardless of what's going on in the table. And I think, there's sort of, I honestly think that's going to start building into sort of a bit more fear for them as well in some ways because, they are the team to beat at the moment. They are the team we've got to beat to be sure of winning the league. If we don't beat them, I honestly think it's going to be a struggle. There's still a long way to go, and beating them doesn't mean we've won the league either. But I don't know. I just feel like you're right. The sort of we are getting into the heads. The way they've reacted to Trent, they've overreacted to that so much. And like you say, it's like they're protesting a bit too much about it, which kind of says, Trent's hit the nail on the head there, and he wasn't even having a go at them. That wasn't him having a go. This is the other laughable bit. They're so touchy. He wasn't even having a go. He was kind of saying, he's not asked about what them. He's saying it means a hell of a lot to us, probably more than to any other club, because of the way we've gone about it and because of the history and because, as you'll know yourself, like you were growing up hearing all these great stories about the Reds and you're like, what's that? I've not seen it kind of thing. There's plenty of Liverpool fans who've grown up hearing the stories but not seen the actual proof of it. So there's all that going into it. I just think, when it comes to the game itself, we've got two teams that are hard to choose between. Obviously, there's plenty of players on their side that if they were giving them away for free because the Premier League said you've got to get rid of some as well as losing points, you need to get rid of some of these players. I'm sure there's a few would take off their hands, not all of them. There's a few would take off their hands, no doubt at all. But two teams closely matched, could go either way. But the thing that gives us the edge, might well give us the edge is, and it's happened so often this season, is them scoring isn't going to mean our heads go down if they do manage to score. Them, us having a goal disallowed isn't going to mean, everyone's against us now, heads go down. Whatever happens in that game, good or bad, under Klopp, especially this season, we're going to react and we're going to keep going and keep going and keep going like we did after 99 minutes last weekend. Like we've done so many other times before, like we did in the Champions League against Barcelona when we looked dead and buried after that first leg. Time and again we've done it, but right now I feel like we're all of those signs of that we've had during Klopp's era. It feels like they're here big style now. I wouldn't want to play us. I'll put it that way. I'd be more frightened of playing us than I am about playing against them. And I'm not being bragging. I'm not saying it's a done job. There's still a long way to go, but I genuinely think we really are the team to beat.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
I mean, that's Chelsea.
Yeah.
We beat them, we hammered them with a 85% strength team. We were missing players when we hammered them at Anfield 4-1, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then, we faced them in the cup final and we were, probably at like 50% in terms of our, starting 11 capacity. And by the time we finished the game, we were probably down at like 30% in terms of, players who would be starting for us on a regular basis.
probably look around and say, what was it? Gomez, Van Dijk, Robertson, was it? Maybe, and possibly Endo. They're probably the names you'd say, they're probably nominal starters at any one time for Liverpool. And we were on the ropes, we were hanging on, but we didn't give up, and we found a way. And we kept battling, and as you rightly put it, there's belief now with this team, and I think that as much as Trent's riled them with what he said about how much it means to the fans, I think it's because the club means so much to fans, and we're in hand in hand with what's going on in the pitch, and we'll never give up as football fans, and we'll always believe, because we've been there, we've seen it, we've done it. You referenced a couple of games there, and that was just another Klopp tenureship. You can go back years and years through the archives and find numerous occasions when our backs were against the ropes, and you think this is never going to work out for Liverpool, but they will go on, they will find a way, they will win. They'll get a result, they'll get a goal, they'll take you to the depths of games. We've took it to penalty shootouts if we've had to in cup finals and found a way to do it, but we always seem to find a way, and that really rubs other people's noses in it, because them bastards have done it again. That was basically the feeling you got last weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they were all celebrating. The pints were open and everything ready. The cans were
out. It's one of the best things was seeing that lad's countdown. I think he was an Arsenal fan. It was 5 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go. The fuckers have done it, and you're like, well, of course we've done it. Was it ever in doubt? Yeah, we probably thought, this could be one of them days, but this team, this season, this manager, the old doubters to believers couldn't, resound more in terms of what we are this season. And I couldn't be more proud of us. And it does get you so excited for the weekend. Because I do feel, in years gone by, there would be occasions when if Man City scored first, you would think, oh shit, we're not going to get back into this. But you just feel with this team, whoever's out there in the red shirts, whoever comes off the bench, there'll be an extra, 10-15% running through their body to ensure that they do absolutely everything, that we get something out of the game. And at the end of the day, a draw is not the worst result, because we are still ahead of City in that regard. We would like to get the win, obviously, to create a gap, but a draw would not be the worst result at the end of the day, as much as we don't really want it. We want to take all 3 points. I think people have got to just remember that, we are, maybe in terms of what Arsenal do, they're not fully in control of our own destiny, but I do think that they will struggle as it continues to go on in the season to remain, on a winning streak and win every single game. I just don't think they have the bottle for it, but we do. So let's start this weekend. Let's put a marker down and show what we're all about, because I actually don't think we're actually genuinely being taken serious. I still don't think people take us serious, and think that we can win this title. Looking at the betting odds literally before we started recording, I had a little look, and the percentages are in Manchester City's favour for this weekend. We're 33% chance to win, and City are over 40. And you think, well, did he really still not get it? But obviously not.
And you know what though, the bookies, the bookies odds are never based on the reality of something happening. It's based on how they reckon they can make the most money out of people. So it just kind of shows the bookies know they can make a lot of money out of people because all the Man City fans will and all the sort of anti-Liverpool people, if you like, who don't rate us, will put money on at lower odds. There'll be more of them sticking money on that, and so the bookies know they're going to be quids in doing that, because that's just how it is. But I agree. I don't think people have started taking us seriously. Couple of things you mentioned then when you're on about the Arsenal fan, the countdown. I remember 1989 is after Hillsborough happened, and our league season kind of went on hold for obvious reasons, and it all came down to one less game at Anfield. And all we needed to do was to not lose.
Not lose.
Yeah, a draw even would have been good enough. And I felt like we played for a draw, and it just wasn't our way. Liverpool didn't play for draws, and we didn't know how to do it, and we lost 2-0. And that was what they needed. I think they needed to win by 2 goals. And that was at the time that was sort of shown on ITV, it was before Sky, and it was unusual then for them to have the clock on the telly, but they always did it in live games when it was coming right to the end, and the clock was ticking and ticking and ticking, and I can just remember it felt like forever, and we lost. It was just an awful time. And at the time,
it was the same with Chelsea. I was going to say the Chelsea game with, was it Rodgers?
Yeah,
and Gerrard slipped. We just needed to draw, didn't we?
Yeah,
and we didn't know how to do it.
And that's what I don't want us to do on Sunday. I want us to go out there for a win. If we get a draw, that's great. I'm not going to complain about a draw if that's what we end up with, because I still think I can't see City only getting a draw against us and then losing against Arsenal, because that's the worst case scenario in a way, is we draw, then Arsenal win every game till the end of the season. I just can't see Arsenal doing that, especially if City's one of those games. I just don't go out there and play for a draw, because we can't do it. We're better playing for a win, and we're good at that. So that's what I'm hoping for on Sunday.
I'll just quickly touch on your draws.
Yeah.
Like, from what I can remember this season, I think we've drawn 5 or 6 games, but the ones that spring to mind is Luton away.
Which was a late rescue, wasn't it?
Yeah, and, it was something that, we've said many times, didn't really go our way. We got lucky in the sense in that game. We drew away at the Etihad, and I think we were very fair value for that draw.
Yeah.
We didn't go out there for the draw, but we were fair value for it, especially in the second half. And then the 2 just before Christmas at home to United and Arsenal, where we absolutely battered United, and how it remained a draw, a goalless draw at that, baffles me. And then obviously the Arsenal one, where, as it transpired, we were very clearly robbed of a very obvious penalty in the Odegaard situation. And I think at that time, had a penalty been awarded, and the way the game was going, we were really on top. I think we would have actually, went on to probably beat them. So I don't think, not that we don't know how to draw the game, but we probably can if we want to. But this team has got a desire to want to win every game. We're not of the Mourinho mindset, or, as people may have said, the Rafa Benitez would happily go and take draws in games, and that was fine because, what he'd done for us, he brought the unthinkable at the time. But I don't think this team wants to draw a game. I don't think it's in their mindset that we can draw. I think it's we will just win. If we're drawing, that's not good enough. We will go and win.
I think when you're about the draw, the other one that's jumped out at me is early on in the season against Chelsea as well, when it felt like at that moment in time that wasn't a bad result for us, a draw, because it felt like they just spent all of that money. We've had to sort of restructure our midfield and things. We've had some upheavals and stuff. That early on in the season, 1-1's now, whatever it was definitely a draw. Not bad against them. We'll take that. And it's only as time's gone on, I look back and think it's mad how much, in my view, the gulf between us has grown, not just on the league table, but how much we've grown as a team since then and how much they've kind of stagnated. It's mad. And that's just on this season. Crazy. But we might as well get a mention of this in while we can, because I mentioned it at the beginning and said we'd try and talk about it. I don't really want to think about it in a lot of ways, I'll be honest, but this is all going to come to an end soon. Obviously, it's Jurgen's last season, and it's the lads on the bench, the coaches with him who come up with some of the ideas that help us turn games around and turn those sort of defeats into wins and things like that. They're not going to be around. Most of the players should still be around. I'm sure not many of them will be moving out, but Klopp's going. But to make that work well, we need a director of football or a sporting director or someone who knows the game well enough to bring in a manager, and also knows the game well enough to make sure that the manager that comes in gets all the tools he needs that suits his kind of football. And we've managed that under Klopp. We've managed to bring the right players in, and it all started out. And the rumours are, the guy who's played such a big part in that was Michael Edwards, who left the club a while ago. According to, there's been a lot of talk lately. Paul Joyce mentioned it. Now, David Ornstein's mentioned it, that Michael Edwards is close to an FSG role with Richard Hughes, who's just been confirmed as leaving his current job. So it looks like he probably is coming. But the idea is that Michael Edwards will be in a more senior role than he's had in the past, quite a senior role with FSG. And he's sort of overseeing a lot more than just LFC, perhaps, with Richard Hughes as the LFC sporting director. It feels like, it's a hell of a thing for us to lose Klopp like this. And it's a hell of a thing, in my view, as well, to let the backroom staff go. I sort of fully understand why they want to go, but you think it would have been good if some of them could have hung on and kind of done a bit of a transition for us. But with, we kind of almost starting from scratch on the coaching side, but I can see why FSG are so hungry and so determined by the sounds of it to get the man. And it does definitely sound promising now, because he wasn't interested before, according to earlier reports, but by the sounds of it, they've come up with an idea where he's going to take on more responsibility. He's going to have people around him that he can trust, that can maybe take some of the weight off him. Maybe gets to spend more time with his family than maybe he did when he was a Liverpool employee. But we do need it, don't we? We need someone who can kind of help us with that transition. When I was growing up and we had managers changing, it was always this boot room transition. Shankly made way for Paisley. Paisley made way for Fagan. Fagan made way for Kenny, and Kenny had Bob Paisley in his ear as a consultant kind of thing. That was how we transitioned from one manager to the other. This, to me, is the closest we're going to get to it now, and I really hope they can work the magic FSG and bring him here.
A question for you: is Michael Edwards the modern day laptop version of Ronnie Moran?
Could be, yeah.
He was the guy who was around for all them, wasn't he?
Yeah.
For the most of them.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was like, he started, he was a player for us, and then he sort of was kind of lower down the ranks in the coaching. I mean, that's the only difference, I suppose, is he's not as hands-on. He's not going to be down. He's not going to be down at the AXA, is he? In his trackies,
on the Cohen's house.
Yeah, he's not going to be doing that.
No.
But the thing is, FSG seems to get the best people for the job. Like and it happens across the thing, even on like commercial stuff. And you hear about people who are working in the club in Castle Street at the head office and things like that. Chapel Street. It's always decent people that they're bringing in. I mean, sometimes there's been criticism. No, he's not a Liverpool fan. Why have you brought him? But because he's really good at what he does. Or she's really good at what she does. And I think, it's getting the right people for the job in terms of they're good at it, you can afford them and all the rest of it. And that's what we need. We need the football inside to keep doing that.
Yeah, we've got neuroscientists and psychologists of all levels, and we had like rocket scientists or whatever, didn't we, at one point on the books? I don't know if they still are or whatever. They might still well be, but we wouldn't probably actually know about it. But
throwing coach came in for a bit.
They do all these stuff, in the background, but it's all to aid the greater cause, and that's success on the pitch, and make it as easy as possible, for the coach or the manager to do their job and ensure that, the maximum capabilities of the players are achieved. And I think, there's a lot of noise in the background about, why Edwards left and stuff, disagreements with certain people and whatever over certain situations. But, I guess maybe it come to a point where it was Klopp or Edwards, and, you're not going to tell Jurgen Klopp, sorry, it's you we want to get rid of because this guy, has done so much other things for us off the field. I think then FSG would be handed out to the club, and Michael Edwards sadly slipped out the back door. But since he's gone, we've had a couple of other people have shot at it, but it doesn't seem to have ever been right. And, I guess, maybe it is the fact that FSG got so much faith in what he built, because he was here before Klopp, and, he put the building blocks in place, and, at the very beginning, we built something over 3 or 4 years that took us to the top. And yes, it's going to be hard to move on from Jurgen and what he's built for us, but he's leaving us, as we've said before, in probably the best situation in terms of the squad, the academy, the whole setup of the club, and it's just going to need someone to oversee the transition. And if you can take the weight off the shoulders of the next man, whoever that may be, in any way possible, by having someone who knows the way around the place, knows how FSG want to operate, but also knows how the club can operate in terms of off the field as well. It's there's probably not a better man for the job in our opinion, and there's a reason. He was linked to so many other jobs. Chelsea, City, United, Newcastle, PSG. Real Madrid, around the world, but for some reason he's held out. And I think he took a venture with Ian Graham, didn't he? I think it's Ian Graham anyway. He took a venture into creating another company, but he's not ever actually committed to another club. So maybe he's got that sense of a little bit of loyalty about him that he thinks, well, I can still do something there. And as you say, if he's overseeing a bigger picture, and Richard Hughes, who, you know, we don't know too much about him other than, you know, he had a playing career and he's done bits at Bournemouth that, you know, he's had a previous relationship at Portsmouth with Michael Edwards. You know, Richard Hughes being a player and Edwards being in the back room at the time, so that's where he knows him from. But
yeah,
if he knows the guy, trusts the guy, and he's going to oversee things at Liverpool, then, you know, maybe there's bigger things to come. You know, maybe we are going to essentially dip our toe into the multi-club ownership model and maybe look to get a couple of, you know, affiliated clubs in other places where we can, you know, maybe use development for players and stuff like that, because it does seem like that's the way that the world's going in terms of football. Some of it are using it to, you know, fair and foul means, but it wouldn't be a bad thing if we sort of had a club or two across the continent or across the world where we could, you know, maybe use for development of players, because we've seen how good we can develop players on site, and if we can give these lads opportunities maybe to play on a more regular basis, then it might just stand us in better stead in the long term.
Yeah, and especially get them to play the way we want to play, because for all you can kind of have talks with a manager or another club sending a player out on loan to another club in this, you know, in League One or Championship or anything. There's no saying that your talks in the summer when you start the loan off are going to actually come to light in that way when the season unfolds and they have a bit of pressure or a bit of trouble. And we've seen it a few times. I think is it Calvin Ramsey had just couldn't get a game basically because he just didn't want a chance putting him
Preston,
on. Yeah, which is understandable. You know, if you're Preston, your priority is Preston, not making some lad a better player for some other club. You know, so it's understandable. And like you say, if we've got our own, I think another interesting thing about this, if this happens as well, it feels a bit like that. You know, that Edwards will be kind of the figurehead, the bigger name, if you like, in that sort of side of the club or that side of the organisation, including FSG. But it gives Richard Hughes sort of. I mean, when I was just talking about Kenny starting out as a manager at Liverpool and having Bob Paisley as someone to call on for advice, there's a little bit of aspect of that as well, I think, as well. So Edwards can be, you know, maybe taking charge of certain things, looking at bigger pictures and stuff, but he's in there, he's got his contacts, he can just help out, maybe get a deal over the line. And the article in The Athletic just reminds us as well as something else that Edwards did. It's the way he got so much money out of our players that we got rid of. I mean, Coutinho for 142 million is just, it sounds mad to think about that now. I mean, he was a decent player for us, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't, and as you've seen since, you know, didn't live up to that price. We got Sakho, 26 million, Solanke, 19, even Danny Ward, 12.5 million, Danny Ings, 20 million, and there's loads more, isn't there? You know, there's loads of like more fringe players that,
that's been a gripe, I think, as well. Sorry, like we've let so many players walk away for free.
Yeah,
and I think, you know, that there's been obviously stories that Edward wanted to sell Henderson in 2019, I think it was, and he ended up with a new deal. And as we've seen, you know, we got a nominal fee of anything for Henderson, and you know, I think we could probably all agree that in the last 18 months, especially for Jordan Henderson, it wasn't the best we've seen from him in a Liverpool shirt. It's probably being nice in one way of saying it.
We're going to be paying a lot of wages for what we're getting out of him if he'd have stayed for the full deal.
Yeah, and you know, Michael Edwards wanted to sell him at a time when we probably could have recouped a decent fee. And you know, we've seen players walk away for free, and some would say, well, they've earned the right to walk away for free. But you know, would Michael Edwards have cashed in on Bobby Firmino a little bit earlier? Would he have, you know, maybe cashed in on Sadio Mane and got a much larger fee when we possibly could have? You know, would he have let Divock Origi go for, you know, the rumoured 20 million at the time when it was on the table? Would Nat Phillips have walked away probably for free in the next year or so, whenever actually Nat Phillips actually does leave the club? You know, or would we have actually got, you know, 10, 12 million plus? Or like Nico Williams was the same. I think we ended up with 7 for him, and we turned down 12 because we wanted 15. You know, like these little things all add up on a club that's doing things on a proper basis, and you know, and not buy to sell necessarily, but you know, a sustainable model, and using the money that they earn to reinvest, and you know, letting players walk for free
is not, a model that, will last forever. You just think, fast forward this summer, we're going to let Matip and Thiago walk for free. Could they have been sold last summer and got fees? And the fact that we've barely seen Thiago in a year, one appearance in a year, and, Matip, I'd imagine he probably racked up a dozen appearances this season before he went down injured, and the emergence of Jarell Kwanzaa, we possibly could have made it through the season without them and had a bit more cash in the bank. So it's hindsight, if buts and maybes, but if that's how Michael Edwards can operate, that is how FSG would probably like to operate on a more regular basis. So it probably does tie in hand of how they see the future of the club going. Yeah,
100%. And I think, when you're talking about that, it's that knowing that, like we're saying, it's hindsight for us. But, I mean, Bob Paisley, I keep mentioning him, he's someone who had that. He didn't need hindsight to know this. He'd spotted that a player was starting to decline, and he'd get them moved on to another club, get some money for them, get someone in. Because that's the other important thing. It's one thing getting some decent money for a player going out. It's great to have that little bit of wedge coming in for that, but you've got to be able to use it well. And Paisley always could. We always brought decent players in when players went. And it was quite sort of bad for the players at the time, because you felt, when you look back now, and the players will talk about it themselves, how hard done to they felt at the time, that they were kind of almost being thrown on the scrap heap. But as time's gone on, they realised that Paisley was doing what was best for the club. And the players you've just mentioned then, it would have been hard for some people to see Henderson go. Some people couldn't wait to see him go as well. I get that. But, it's making those tough decisions. Someone's got to make them, and just got to say, look, you might like him, you might be mates with him, your kids might play together. I don't really care, to be honest with you. He's now at this point in his career where we can only get less money for him, and he's going to cost us more than he's worth to us. We could use that money to do this, buy this player, pay those wages, whatever, and look at the improvements. And, the players I've just mentioned then who left, and you think about the likes of Virgil van Dijk and Alisson Becker and others who've come into the club, indirectly because of the money we raised from players like that, Coutinho and others that have gone, it's having that sort of ability to see that big picture that we really, really will need now. Because what you just want, I think, is whoever comes in as manager, on the whole, you just want them to know that they've got a decent squad to pick from, who can work well together. It's their job. You motivate them. You get your coaches to tell them what to do. Let someone else worry about the ins and outs in the transfer window. Just get everyone to do their job to the best they can. I think we can probably leave it there for this week. I mean, we said plenty, said there was a lot to go on. I think we've covered everything just about. I don't want to do predictions for City for the scoreline, but if you have to make one prediction, who do you reckon, I don't know, who do you think will be in our front three? Assuming we go with the three, obviously.
Mo, Darwin, Diaz. I think we will try and start as strong as possible. And, I think that last night was a good exercise in terms of, getting players minutes. And, from the news that we heard today, we haven't even touched on the fact that I think hopefully Ibu Kanate is going to be okay.
Yeah.
As much as I've listened to Brawl as well before, as much as Macher and was it Steve Bauer?
Yeah.
We're trying to create a narrative that what happens to Joe Gomez and is Darwin in it? No, look at the form guide. We take players off in 45 minutes because we can save ourselves a sub in the second half, and we've got a squad that we're managing. And with Darwin, I think it was just a case of him and Van Dijk. Szoboszlai and Van Dijk were probably going to come on at 55, 60, and Darwin and Kanate were probably the subs, and it was a case of wait, we're making a change. We'll take you both off. So I'd hope and pray that Kanate is fine. It's all a bit of mind games. I think there's question marks of who starts at fullback, but other than that, I think the team picks itself in terms of Kelleher in goal, Kanate, Van Dijk in the middle, Endo, McAllister, and I think Szoboszlai might get the start and get 60 in his legs, and then Diaz, Nunes, Salah. And, we've got options off the bench then, you got Gakpo, you got Elliott, who can come on and possibly impact the game in one way or another. Maybe Jayden Danns is back on the bench because he was out with concussion protocol for last night.
All right.
we've got a couple of defenders if we need be to, change a bit of shape. If Gomez doesn't start and maybe it's Bradley and Robertson, we can switch things up and change the sort of way we approach things. We've got options there. We would like to have more, of course, but we are where we are, and as I say, we will harness the power of Anfield, and I think we will get a positive result. Is all I'm going to say without putting a score on it.
Yeah, and the only thing I think, my last word on the City game before we go is, just to the City staff and players, really. If you think you're getting a bombardment on the coach, just wait till you get the bombardment from the noise inside Anfield when you get in there, and wait till our lads start showing you on the pitch. That's my fighting talk. I just hope we live up to it, but I'm just full of confidence. So it's hoping for the best on Sunday. That's it from us for now. Thank you for listening. Thanks to Jay, of course. If you're not already doing so, please, if you can, have a look at Anfield Index Pro and subscribe. I'm not going about it too much, but yeah, it's not a bad price per month, and it's less than what you'd probably pay to Amazon for them to stop putting the crappy ads on in the middle of Prime that they've suddenly started adding. So, I'd say put up with the ads off them to get rid of the ads off us and to support us if you can. And if not, there will always be a free version of these podcasts one way or another with ads. And that's what we want, because we want as many people to listen as possible, because we do it for you, because we're all fans together, aren't we? But for us, that is it for this week. We will be back soon, and come on, Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index, and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.